So our family of 6 is wrapping up our 2.5-week road trip from Alabama out west to see 4 national parks in New Mexico and West Texas. We spent time at White Sands, Guadalupe Mountains, Carlsbad, and our last stop of the 4 parks is Big Bend. So Big Bend National Park is the U.S. National Park number 49 for me. I'm trying to hit all 63, and Big Bend was a spot that I wanted to go to. I just hadn't had the opportunity to go. And it's one of those parks that I really wanted to do in the spring or the fall because it's so hot during the summer that it's almost unbearable to be out there in the desert. And so we spent time at the other parks over a week and a half or so, and then we had about 4 days in Big Bend. Big Bend is so diverse. The thing I loved about it was the difference in environments. It's right there on the Rio Grande in southwest Texas. So the river is the border with Mexico and the border of the park. You've got the desert, which is most of the park. And then you've got the Chisos Mountains, which are completely inside the park. There's some beautiful canyons. We did Boquillas Canyon and Santa Elena Canyon, and I would say that Santa Elena Canyon is one of the most beautiful spots that I've been to in any national park. I would say that's probably the crown jewel of the trip. That's the most beautiful spot that I went to. And I'm going to go into a lot of detail about the places that we went, the things that we did, the places we stayed, and share a little bit about our time in Big Bend. All right, so we left our stop in Guadalupe Mountains to drive down to Big Bend. It was about a 4-hour drive or so, pulling a camper. We have a 1980 Airstreamer that we've taken all over the country, and we're in it this time on this trip. And so we don't live full time in it, but we spend a lot of time on the road exploring the different places around the country. We've been to 44 states, and I'm not sure how many national parks we've been to in the camper. I've been to 49 total, but not every one of those was in the camper. So I'm always looking for places to stop, and we tried to make some other stops along the route on this trip that are national park sites. And so Fort Davis was one that was kind of between Guadalupe and Big Bend. I was like, oh, let's stop there and see what it is. And so it's a national historical park, and it preserves an old fort that was a military outpost there in West Texas. Didn't know anything more than the name and the location, but got to go in and learn a lot about what the life was like for the people that lived there. The kids did the Junior Ranger program there, which we do at every national park site, which I would highly recommend. It gives us so much insight to what the place is and what it's about. I think it was there that we were talking about something about the history of the place, and Phoenix had been reading his book, and he was like, oh no, this is what happened there, and this is how the people lived, or something like that. It was cool because he had read the book and he knew the history of the place. So the Junior Ranger program is a free program that you can do at every National Park Service site, and it's really cool for the kids to be able to learn about the park and about the history. So we did that at Fort Davis.
I promise to help protect and preserve.
We walked around. We spent only a couple of hours there. We were getting there close to the end of the day, and so we spent a couple of hours there and explored the park, walked around some of the historical buildings and everything like that. So Big Bend is right in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's not much near that park. It's a long drive from just about anywhere. It's not close to any of the towns in Texas, the major cities that are in central Texas. El Paso is a pretty good ways from there also. So you're down in that little tip of where the river turns, the Big Bend of the Rio Grande. We went to Terralingua, so there's not a whole lot in Terralingua. It's there basically as the entryway into Big Bend. So we stayed at Big Bend Station. It's an RV park that's right there in the middle of Terralingua. It's only like maybe 6 or 7 miles from the entry to Big Bend. It was good. It was an easy place to stay. It wasn't anything amazing. There was no real bad problems that we had with it. It was like $40-something a night, and we stayed 4 nights. It did have full hookup. It had bathhouses. The bathhouses were not the greatest. There were 2 for the men, and then the women had 2, but one was messed up. And so we typically try to take showers and everything in the bathhouse. One negative that we kind of had was that the showers were coin operated, so you had to pay for the showers, which wasn't that big a deal. It's not that expensive. It was $2 a shower, or for 6 minutes of a shower. But with 5 people taking showers, multiple times while we were there. We spent like $26, $28 on showers while we were there. So just a little added cost, a little inconvenience. We did have rain 2 nights, both the first night we were there and the second night we were there. So the storm came through the first night we were there and knocked the power out in the whole town. The next day we got up early that morning to go into the park, and it was actually really overcast and kind of dreary. There were some low-hanging clouds in the mountains and everything like that. It was a really unique look for the desert, which was drastically different the next couple of days. But that day turned out to be pretty overcast most of the day and not as hot. So it was actually really nice that the rain came through. So that first day, we took advantage of the opportunity we had to go across the border into Mexico. So there's a small little border crossing in the national park that you can go through. You have to have a passport, but we all have passports, and we knew this going, so we took them with us. And then you go down to the Rio Grande, and you can cross. There's a guy down there with a little boat that's actually, when we went, he was walking the boat back and forth for people to get in. It's $5 a piece to cross, and it's like maybe 60 or 70 feet across, and we noticed that the guy that was going back and forth wasn't even waist deep, so we're like, we can do this. We're just gonna walk, save the cash, kind of made it part of the experience. So we walked across the water. I threw Phoenix on my shoulders, and Megan had Cruz on her back, and the other two walked. And so it was really cool. I mean, it was not even over my knees. It was super easy to walk across, really muddy, but we got to walk across the Rio Grande into Mexico. So we went down to this tiny little town. Boquillas is the little town. It's right there on the border. It's about maybe a 15-minute walk down to the main part of town. Super tiny. You can tell there's a lot of dependence on tourism from the national park to provide for this town. So there are a lot of little handmade things on the side of the road people were selling and stuff like that. There was 2 restaurants. And so we went to one of the restaurants, got a little bit of food. It was not Mexican prices. It was American prices. So we ate a little bit. It wasn't the best Mexican food I've ever had. I've had way better food in other parts of Mexico, but anyway, it was part of the experience. So we got to go into Mexico. The kids had never been into Mexico. They've been to Canada, but never Mexico. So they were all excited to add another country to their list of countries they've been to. And so if you have a passport and you have some time while you're there in Big Bend, I would definitely recommend take advantage of the opportunity to go into Mexico there and just see the little town.
Smile.
Get the mud off your feet.
All right, so once we came back across the border into the U.S., we went up and hiked into Boquillas Canyon.
No camping, no fires, no pets, no dogs.
And one interesting thing, there are all these little stands set up of like trinkets that they had made, and they have them on the rock, but there's nobody be there, but they just have them out on the rocks, and they have like a little deposit box where you pay the money to buy the little thing. They were all out where you could buy them on the honor system. It was just interesting that they were out there. There were 2 guys on horseback up on top of the hill at Boquillas Canyon that were selling tamales out of a cooler, a softback cooler that were from Mexico. I mean, we were right there on the border. So check out Boquillas Canyon. It was a super short hike. And then we also went up to the hot springs. So the hot springs is a historical spot that they used to have like a hotel and everything down there around 100 years ago. People used to come down to the hot springs. It was one of those things, kind of like Hot Springs National Park where we went with the bathhouses. It was a place that people with ailments and diseases or injuries would come and bathe in that mineral water to supposedly make them feel better. And so there's a historical area. There's still a little spot, a little pool that you can get in. I was expecting more. I was expecting more pools than one, and I was expecting it to be a little bit bigger. It was only like 15 by 15 maybe, and it was not very deep. With all the rain that we'd had, the water was up, and it was kind of muddy. The spring was also muddy where water had been into the spring in the pool. The kids got in. We all put our feet in. It was awesome to kind of see the hot springs and the history there in Big Bend National Park. So one of the things about Big Bend is its size. We kept driving from place to place, and the kids would always ask, like, how far is it to this spot? Or where are we going next? Or how far is it? Or how long is it going to take to get there? I was like, everything takes a long time to get to in Big Bend. It's spread out. It's a massive park, and you just got to drive. It was a long distance from everything. Like driving in from Terralingua down through the entrance down to the Rio Grande Village took like an hour, and then getting back up to the other area we were going to took like 30 minutes, but then it took another 30 minutes to get up into the mountains. The Chisos Mountains are the mountain range that are completely inside Big Bend National Park. I didn't really know what to expect when we were going up there, so we went up for sunset one evening that first day, and I felt like I was driving into like Wyoming or Idaho. It did not feel like Southwest Texas. The environment and the climate up there was totally different. The rocks were all different. It didn't feel like the desert we had just been in. So we just spent an hour or so up there and just kind of watched the sunset. There's a window that you can see in the distance, and it's a great spot for sunset. So one of the things we do at every national park site that we go to since we found out about it in 2018 is the Junior Ranger program. So I actually have Kiri's book here. This is the Big Bend Junior Ranger book. It's like, I don't know, 16 pages or so, but it's got all these activities that they did. So there's these different activities that you have to do, different for different ages, and it's a free thing that you go up to the ranger station and ask for the book, and they'll give you the book. And different ages have to do different activities in here. And so this is the one Kiri did. She got her Junior Ranger badge. They signed the back. Every park's a little different. I've got stacks of different Junior Ranger books they've done in different parks. And this is a thing that we love. We talked about it before, and I think we're gonna make a video about this independently because it's such a cool program for the kids to do. It gives them a souvenir from the park. Gray has like 60 or so Junior Ranger badges from all the different parks he's been to. And so I would highly recommend, if you go to a national park site, not just a national park, anything NPS, anything the NPS is over, that go check out the Junior Ranger program if you have kids that are there going with you, and it's a cool opportunity for them. So our second day was just spent in the morning cooking breakfast at the camper, and then the kids got up and finished their Junior Ranger books, and then took our time driving the scenic drive down to Santa Elena Canyon. There's tons of pull-offs, tons of great viewing places and everything along that drive, and so we took our time. We got down to Santa Elena around 2 or so, spent a little time there, and what had happened the last 2 nights is it had rained, which was kind of odd for the desert to have that much rain. And Santa Elena Canyon hike is a pretty little short hike. So the park map has trail information, and the Santa Elena Canyon hike is like a mile. It's super short, and in that it says trail crossing goes through a creek, which is normally dry. It wasn't dry. It had rained the last 2 days. So Megan and Cruz decided not to cross the creek to get to the hike. The hike was beautiful going down into the canyon, but it was super easy just crossing that creek. The water was up so much. It was like walking through chocolate milk. But there wasn't trash and things, and it was just silty from all the rain. So Gray and Kiri and I all walked across again like we did in the Rio Grande. I put Phoenix on my shoulders because it would have been up like over his waist. And so we walked across the creek, and we waited a little bit later in the evening. I think it was about 4:30 or 5 before we went, because we wanted to make sure that the sun was going down across the canyon, and if we waited a little bit later, the whole area that we'd be hiking in would be in the shade. So we took advantage of that shade, and we went across the creek, waded across the chocolate milk, got over there on the other side, and just took our time walking through the canyon. It's a beautiful canyon. It's probably the prettiest place in Big Bend to me. The other places along the route are really cool, but Santa Elena probably is top spot for Big Bend.
That was not it.
Santa Elena Canyon, the water was up a lot. We went across the creek, had a big rain last night, but we waded across the creek. It was actually, I think, made it less busy down here. It's pretty impressive. This canyon is awesome.
So we finished the canyon, hiked back through the chocolate milk, and headed back toward the camper. It was about an hour drive. Like I said, nothing's close in Big Bend. It's about an hour drive back up to the camper. And we had to get back to the camper, though, because Auburn was playing in the Sweet 16, and we had to make sure that we got to watch that. But thankfully, they played a late game, and so we were able to be back at the camper in plenty of time to eat dinner and watch the game. All right, so one thing that Big Bend is known for is their dark skies and the visibility of the stars. I saw many places that they claim that Big Bend has the darkest skies in the lower 48 states. It was dark. I mean, when you got away from the little bit of the town lights that were there, you could see the stars so well. So with it being a new moon, so no moonlight to contend with for star photos, I went out around 3 a.m. because of the season. We were there late March. The Milky Way is rising just a little before sunrise. So around 3:30 or 4, it was coming up over the horizon. I spent that morning up as the sun came up in the Chisos Mountains. And then I was like, I need to do another hike while I'm out here. Megan and the kids are back at the camper. So I drove to Balanced Rock, which was about a 6.5 mile drive on a dirt road. Pretty well maintained dirt road, but it was a dirt road that you had to drive out. And once I got out there, it was probably 8 o'clock. Sun had been up for a little bit, but the hike was in the little valley, still in the shade. Pretty easy hike up through the sand. Honestly, no, not much elevation. It was just walking through a sandy valley. Walked up to Balanced Rock. The last little piece, there's a little bit of a scramble through some rocks that you get up to the top. But overall, the hike was super easy. Got up there. There were a couple people up there, not many. But Balanced Rock was a good little hike. It was easy. It was like a mile, super quick. It was definitely worth the view, and Balanced Rock was a cool place. Megan and Kiri weren't feeling the best, so me and Gray and Phoenix, we loaded up and went to the closed canyon in Big Bend Ranch State Park. So it's Big Bend National Park, and then Big Bend Ranch State Park is right next to it. It's called Closed Canyon, and it was really cool. It took us about an hour to get down there. The canyon walls, though, are like super narrow. It was a lot more narrow than even Santa Elena, and it was pretty dry. It had rained, like I said, a few days before, but there was a little bit of water in a couple of spots pooled up. But overall, it was pretty dry. That was a really cool hike. We walked about probably half to 3/4 of a mile back in the canyon. It was super windy, super narrow slot canyon. So as I was looking at places to explore in Big Bend, that place kept coming up through Instagram searches and Google searches and things like that. I thought it was a really cool spot to go check out, and it was totally worth it. And it was a really easy hike. Easy down there, short hike, but a really cool little canyon. All right, so Big Bend is probably my favorite part from this trip. I mean, it's a big place, and there's a lot to do. There's stuff that I didn't do that I want to go back and do. Some other hikes, some different areas that we didn't go to up in the northern part. We didn't even go up in that area. So there's definitely more to do than what we did in the 3 days we were there. There's just so much there. It would probably make it into my top 10, if not top 10, at least the top 15 that I've ever been to in the U.S. And so still got 14 left to do, but out of the ones I've been to, this one is pretty high up on the list. All right, so we left Big Bend, headed to San Antonio. All in all, we spent about 18 days on the road from Alabama through Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, stopped at Hot Springs National Park, Oklahoma City, North Texas, New Mexico, West Texas, and now we're headed to San Antonio. We're going to spend about 2 days in San Antonio. We spent 3 nights there. We spent a full day in San Antonio, just kind of exploring the area, did the river walk, did the Alamo, all that kind of stuff downtown. And then the next day, we went to the San Antonio Missions National Park Service site. I think it's Historical Park. Some of the different mission sites that were there. Then that night we had a Spurs game. Me and the 3 older kids went to the Spurs game, and they played the Magic, and they got killed, and it was fun. We'd never been to an NBA game or any other pro sports games, and so we had seats. I found them for super cheap. They were like $17 a piece, but they were like next to the top. We were way up. The players were like this big, But I got my phone out. Couldn't take my big camera in, but I had my phone out, like zooming in all the way to see the players and who they were. But the kids loved it. Gray loved it. He's been all about basketball the past few years, and so it was a great opportunity to do something different on a trip. So we spent that time in San Antonio, and then we headed home. We stopped at my family in Louisiana to see them, have dinner with them, and slept at a Love's gas station / casino on the side of the road, side of I-20 in far northeastern Louisiana. We covered about 4,500 miles in total. Part of that was pulling the camper for the most of it, and then some of that was obviously driving in and out of the parks and around the parks. It was a great trip. We love road tripping. We love taking our camper across the country. I feel like it's the best way to see the national parks. They're great memories that we've had, and this is another great road trip that we have gotten to experience. So if you will, like this video and also subscribe to the channel so you'll be sure to be up to date on all the things that we do as we share in our journey.